Forget everything you think you know about love. No weddings, no anniversaries, no word for boyfriend or wife, no laws about who belongs to whom. For most of human history, none of that existed. And yet, 100,000 years ago, our ancestors were falling in love, getting jealous, raising children, and breaking each other's hearts, with brains wired exactly like yours. The truth is, the way ancient humans handled love, sex, and family was in some ways completely alien to us, and in other ways so familiar it's almost eerie. They had no rules written down, but they had powerful, invisible rules of a different kind, and breaking them could get you cast out or killed. So how did people actually love, pair up, and stay together? Back before marriage, before religion, before any of it existed? The answer is stranger and more human than you'd expect. Let's start with the biggest myth, that romantic love is a modern invention, something dreamed up by poets and movies. It isn't. Falling in love is not a cultural fashion, it's a biological event, wired deep into the human brain over millions of years. The rush of attraction, the obsession with one person, the ache of longing. These are ancient chemical programs, and they were running full force in our ancestors long before language could even describe them. When two people locked eyes across a fire 50,000 years ago, the exact same flood of dopamine and bonding hormones hit them that hits you today. Love didn't wait for civilization. Love helped build it. But here's a real puzzle. Most mammals don't do lasting couples at all. A male animal usually mates and moves on. So why did humans evolve to form pair bonds to actually stay together? The answer is our babies. Human infants are born helpless and stay helpless for years, with those enormous hungry brains needing constant care. A single exhausted mother, in a dangerous world, struggled to raise a child alone. So evolution favored couples who stuck together long enough to get a child through its most fragile years. Love, in other words, may exist partly because our babies are so demanding. The bond that feels like magic to you is, in part, nature's solution to the problem of the human infant. Now let's smash the ugliest cliché, the caveman clubbing a woman and dragging her back to his cave by the hair. It's a cartoon, and it's almost certainly false. In small hunter-gatherer bands, women were not powerless property. They gathered much of the food, held deep knowledge, and had their own status and voice. A man who abused a woman wasn't dealing with her alone. He was dealing with her brothers, her family, her whole tightly knit group, who lived inches away and depended on each other. Cruelty had consequences. In many ways, relationships in these small bands were more equal than in many societies that came much later. The brutal caveman is a story we invented, not a fact we found. So how did people actually pair up? Not through arranged marriages or dowries, those came much later, with farming and property. In hunter-gatherer life, attraction and mutual choice mattered enormously. People were drawn to partners who were healthy, skilled, kind, and useful to have around. A good hunter, a clever forager, someone who made others laugh, someone the group respected. Courtship likely involved the same things it does now: showing off, making someone laugh, small gifts of food, and simply spending time together. Strip away the technology, and a hunter proudly bringing back meat to impress someone isn't so different from a modern person picking up the dinner bill. Here's the question everyone really wants answered. Were ancient humans monogamous? The honest answer is, it's complicated, and it always has been. Humans are what scientists call mostly monogamous. We form strong pair bonds, but we're not perfectly faithful, and we never have been. Our biology tells the story. Compared to strictly monogamous animals, we show signs of some competition. Compared to wildly promiscuous ones, we clearly bond. So ancient couples likely did pair off, often for years. But affairs, jealousy, and second partners were part of the picture too. In truth, humans have always lived in the messy middle. Mostly loyal, sometimes not, endlessly complicated. Exactly like today. And where there is love and desire, there is jealousy, one of the oldest and most dangerous emotions we have. Jealousy isn't a character flaw invented by modern insecurity. It's an ancient alarm system, evolved to protect a bond that mattered for survival. In a small band where everyone knew everyone, an affair wasn't a private matter. It could shatter alliances, spark violence, and tear the group apart. So jealousy burned hot, and betrayals had real, sometimes deadly consequences. The heartbreak you feel, the flash of jealousy when someone you love looks at another, that's not weakness. It's a 100,000-year-old survival instinct, still firing inside a modern skull. Now, the family. Here's where ancient life was profoundly different from ours. The idea of a couple raising kids alone, isolated in their own home, is a very modern and unusual arrangement. For most of history, children were raised by the whole band. Grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, cousins, and friends all helped feed, carry, and watch the young. Scientists call these extra carers alloparents, and human children evolved to expect them. A child had many trusted adults, not just two. This is why raising kids can feel so crushingly hard today. We're trying to do, alone in a quiet house, a job our species evolved to share among a dozen loving hands. And one carer mattered more than almost any other: the grandmother. Humans are one of the very few animals where females live long past their childbearing years, and there's a powerful theory for why. A grandmother who stops having her own babies can pour all her energy into helping her daughters raise theirs, gathering food and sharing decades of hard-won knowledge. Groups with active, helpful grandmothers raised more children who survived. In a very real sense, the long human lifespan and the deep bond between grandparent and grandchild may exist because grandmothers made the whole fragile system work. Your grandmother's love is written into your species. It wasn't all warmth, though. Love in the ancient world came with staggering loss. People died young and often, from injury, illness, childbirth, violence. To love someone was to risk losing them, brutally and without warning. And the evidence tells us our ancestors grieved deeply. We found ancient burials where the dead were laid to rest with care, with flowers, with treasured objects. Clear signs of love and mourning tens of thousands of years old. The heartbreak of losing someone you love is not a modern luxury of feeling. It's as old as love itself, and our ancestors carried it exactly as we do, perhaps more often and more heavily. So step back. Were ancient relationships like ours? In the deep things, astonishingly yes. They fell hard in love. They felt jealousy, desire, tenderness, and grief. They chose partners, argued, cheated, reconciled, and mourned. The wiring, driving, all of it is identical to yours. What changed is only the packaging around it. The weddings, the labels, the laws, the isolated households, the idea of owning a partner. All of that is recent decoration on a foundation that is unimaginably old. Underneath every modern relationship, running quietly, are the very same instincts that pulled two people together beside a fire 100,000 years ago. So the next time your heart races over someone or aches when they're gone, or twists with jealousy you can't explain, remember you're not feeling something new. You're feeling something ancient, something that helped your species survive. Running on hardware perfected long before cities, before writing, before history. Your ancestors loved without a single word for it, raised children with a dozen helping hands, and grieved with flowers in the dark. In the ways that matter most, their hearts worked exactly like yours. It makes you wonder how much of what you feel is truly yours, and how much is simply very, very old. Ever wondered what other feelings you carry that are far older than the human world you live in?